Hello, guys, and welcome to today's edition of Motivational Minds Radio. This is the program where we get to take a closer look into the minds of the authors who put the words on the page in the books for our reading pleasure, and to keep us motivated, keep us inspired, and prepare us for the adventures that life throws at us. On today's show, we are speaking with author Brittney Kara. Not only is she an author, she is also a master NLP practitioner. She is a hypnotherapist. She is a wellness and nutrition coach, and she's also a mother. She is a friend. She is a wife. She's so much. Let me tell you a little bit more about Brittney. So Brittney, as I said, she's a certified master NLP practitioner, hypnotherapist, wellness and nutrition coach, the mother of 2 young daughters, and the husband. She's a wife to husband Kellen. Her mission is to inspire people to take control of their health, search for the truth, live life with passion, and discover the greatness within them. Brittney, she knew at a young age that helping others was a lifelong calling for her, and after college, Brittney worked in the entertainment industry as an actress for many years, but ultimately knew her purpose in life was in the wellness field. Her passion for uncovering the injustices in the food and healthcare system led her down the path to start writing, and she now writes a weekly blog called Messages from Your Body, where she gives readers insight onto how to tune into their bodies and heal their lives through the nutrition and wellness. Now, although aspects of health are important to Brittney, she specializes in teaching people how to detoxify their lives through cleansing, and superfoods. Brittney lives in Los Angeles with her family, and she speaks at various nutrition and wellness seminars across America. Brittney, thank you so much for being with us today. We are happy to have you and excited to learn about everything that you can teach us about food and detoxifying.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be with you today. This is great.
Oh, wonderful. So, Brittney, if you can first tell us what made you become so passionate about this U.S. food and health industry. Where did this passion come from?
Gosh, it was something that I was kind of raised with. I grew up in a pretty holistic-centered household, so it was always something that was a big part of my life, but probably the huge transition for me personally of when I really said, okay, I'm going to just focus all of my energy and attention onto this being my passion and my purpose and my mission in life is really when I had my first daughter. And for anyone listening that has ever, had a child or the first time you're pregnant, it's a very life-changing experience. And it was in that moment where I started to I was already very health conscious and did a ton of research, but it just went way over. But when I got pregnant, I'm like, okay, there's so much stuff going into our food. There's so many lies being spread through the media and through, the people that we're listening to in our government even that are giving us information that's not true, and I think it's affecting a lot of young children and a lot of women, and so that was kind of a pivotal moment for me to really go, okay, this is my mission, my purpose, and I'm going to find as much information as I can and help change as many lives as I can. So that's really when it started for me.
Wow, that's beautiful. I can completely relate to that story, not in the sense that I have children, but in the sense that one day when I do, that I've got to really prepare my body to house them, So what advice can you give to, women that either want to become mothers again or women that will become mothers? What can you tell them?
Well, I think the most important step for any of us, whether you are a parent or not a parent, is to start to become educated about the reality of what's really going on in our food industry and in our healthcare industry. And it's so easy, I think, in our day and age to just kind of just go with the flow and listen to the major marketing and advertising companies that are telling us things are good for us and not really question it. And that's really what I want to instill in people is that burning desire to know the truth and to realize that as a culture we've been lied to in a lot of ways and kind of stand up for that and go, hey, you know what, this is my body and I'm going to take charge of what I'm putting in and on it at all times. So that's one thing where I would say people need to start at that point.
Yes. Now, with education, I know documentaries are one way to get educated, which I'm sure you have quite a few of them that you can recommend to us. Can you share some other resources for education and also some of those documentaries that we can become better educated around the truth of food?
Yes, absolutely. Well, yeah, like you said, there is a plethora of documentaries out there, and I love now, because of the way our social media world is, it's so easy to have access to those documentaries. And, for example, if you have Netflix, you can go on Netflix and you can search, food industry and health documentaries, and you will see so many different ones come up, everything from, Food Inc., Food Matters, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. There's just so many different ones across the board. The Greater Good, Thrive. There's all sorts of documentaries that kind of shine a light onto what's not being told to us in our traditional media outlets that we unfortunately put so much faith and trust in, right? So, of course, there's a documentary aspect of it. And then the other thing is, with the Internet and with social media, you have access to so much information that you can start to do a lot of your own research. And that's kind of what I did. I started to question things in my own life and, possibly different health challenges I was going through when I was younger, and looking for alternative healthy options rather than just listening to, what I was hearing at the doctor's office or whatever. And so you can read, health blogs, and you can read, resources like Natural News and Dr. Mercola, and there is just a whole world of wonderful educational tools out there for free that people can just tune into, and it all starts with that first seed of education. So it's very important.
Absolutely. So I was working recently with a raw nutrition coach because I myself had to get some things in order. And he had me, I was in Africa at the time, he had me watch the, name the documentary again,
Food Matters, maybe?
No, Fat,
Sick, and Nearly Dead? Yes.
Yes, say it again?
Yeah. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
Fat, Sick,
I know it's a really positive, it's a really positive title, but when you watch the film, you get it. It's really cute.
Yeah, we were getting prepared for my juicing journey, and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, maybe a few days, but I can't do this. And as I watched that documentary, it's like every day of why I must do it became more and more clear.
Right.
And now I incorporate juicing into my life at least 10 days per the month.
That's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I lost, 30 pounds on my first month. So when I get back to America, I actually plan on doing it again. So I'm looking forward to that. So another 30 days.
That is fantastic. And that's the one thing I hear from people. They go, oh, I could never do that, or I can never eat the way you do, or, I just, vegetables, or, whatever their hang-up is. But what happens is when you start to balance the system, you start to alkalize the body and the brain naturally come into balance, and they start to crave more nutritious foods. And it becomes almost this effortless form of getting healthy, losing weight, whatever your health goal is. So that's fantastic. You experience that yourself.
Oh, yeah, and I get it now. You have to feel what it feels like to feel healthy, to feel good. And once you feel that, you'll know when you don't.
Exactly.
So I really do appreciate you kind of taking the passion and the gear behind this and giving people the right direction, because we have been lied to. One of the things that it's a personal question of mine, is this whole idea of gluten-free. Is this another one of the lies or myths? Where did this come from, that so many people are allergic to gluten? This is something we've never heard about, and all of a sudden everybody's got it. What's that about?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Well, here's the thing that I know about gluten is actually in most human beings, there is a level of gluten intolerance, gluten sensitivity. So what happens is allergies and intolerances start to stack up in the system. So something that somebody wasn't necessarily allergic to when they were 5, if they keep eating those types of foods, by the time they're 15 or 20, they might have a problem in the system. And it all comes down to, well, 1, we're not getting the proper nutrition from the foods we're eating, and 2, we're not actively and consistently detoxifying our body. And one of the things with gluten is, yes, it seems like a trendy kind of fad to jump on board, like, oh, I'm gluten-free, and you go to the supermarket now and there's all these gluten-free foods, which in my opinion, a lot of them are not healthy options. And so you got to start to look at the ingredients in it. But with gluten-free, what it really is coming down to is a lot of our wheat has been highly genetically modified, highly genetically processed. And so when you're taking a grain that used to have some nutritional value in it and you're processing it and they're putting in, more gluten, which is this substance that is actually not good for the human body. That's why I think we're seeing so much resistance to it. It's because of the wheat and the products that we're eating that are so highly genetically modified. It's creating a huge problem in the system. Does that make sense?
Okay, that's a good question. We're going to try. You're going to interview me now. But I'm so glad that you brought up GMOs, because that is one of those terms where when people ask, do you get it? And I nod my head and I say yes, I think I may be lying just a little bit, because I'm not really sure what GMO means. So can you break it down like kindergarten level for us?
Yes, totally. I'm so glad you asked, because this is a huge thing for people, and this is one of my passions.
I'm like, yeah, GMO. Yeah, of course, GMO. But I'm like, absolutely no clue.
Oh, my gosh, bless your heart. Well, the funny thing is that the majority of people I talk to, unfortunately, they still don't know what a GMO is. So don't worry, you're not alone, but it is going to be something that you want to be aware of, absolutely. So a GMO is a genetically modified organism. And, okay, what does that mean? So going back to kindergarten level here, it's when a plant or seed has been altered, the DNA has been altered in a lab. So, for example, they might take a grain seed or a vegetable seed, and they would actually splice it with the DNA of another plant, a virus, a bacteria, something they grew in a lab. And the point behind genetic modification that these companies are advertising as a positive is that it's supposed to cut down on, the cost of food. It's supposed to create a more sustainable product that can withstand bugs and weather and all sorts of things, and it's this like robotic, weird food that's not really food. And the problem that I have with GMOs is, number one, the company that makes them, Monsanto, there has been no clinical studies done to prove that they're safe for human consumption. Okay? So why is something like that allowed to be just rampant in our food supply, number one? And number two, the studies that have been done by independent parties on lab animals, so on, rats and pigs and whatnot, they find that GMO consumption leads to stomach cancers, allergies, digestive issues, and a multitude of other health problems. So as we're looking at our general population right now and what's going on with our health in America, and, other parts in the world too, but primarily America, we're seeing a huge rise in all those diseases since these GMOs have come into the marketplace. The other thing that I have a huge problem with is there are 64 other countries in the world that require strict labeling laws, and there's 44, I believe, other countries that have completely banned GMOs from coming in, from distributing them. They don't want any GMO seeds. But in America, we don't have the right to know. Right now in this country, there's no labeling law that says you are eating a genetically modified, bowl of cereal. So people don't know. The consumer is being lied to on a massive scale. And so there's all these, petitions going around, and there's all this stuff happening in Washington where we're trying to get things labeled and we're trying to educate the public about it and all of these things. But the reality is, if it's safe, then why can't the company prove that it's safe? Okay, that's one. Two, why not give, if they're not doing anything wrong, why not give the consumer the right to know that they're purchasing the product, correct? So those are kind of the things that are happening right now that are really shady, and it's something that I'm really passionate about, educating people to just know when you're actually eating a GMO and when you're not. So does that kind of clear it up for you?
Oh, that clears it up. What stands out to me is what you said about the GMOs, thinking that it, or making a GMO product, if I'm using this term correctly, will sustain bugs and weather, right? But it's like, if that's what happens with it outside, then imagine what will happen with us inside of us. Yeah, because then we're not going to be able to sustain, the bugs and the weather or what have you that come into our bodies. And then that's even more of a reason to support local farmers, it sounds like. Like, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that's really sad is that a lot of local farmers and, family-run farms are being shut down because what Monsanto does is they have a monopoly on the food system. So, through cross-pollination stuff, they'll come onto these farms and they'll say, okay, well, there is, contamination of our seeds in your seeds. So we have to shut down your farm. And you can no longer produce these unless you buy all these genetically modified seeds from us. And so you can actually watch this journey for farmers if you watch the documentary Food Inc. And also Genetic Roulette is another great documentary that shows kind of how we're just, literally messing with our human DNA by eating this stuff and what it's going to do to the following generations. So it's really kind of scary. It's definitely a word you want to be aware of, and you also want to be empowered to kind of know the tricks of how to not be in their little game that they're kind of playing with humans right now.
Absolutely, and I will definitely list these resources and, sites, and especially your site and your blog and these documentaries on our site so that people can access these and continue to get educated on these things. Now, you getting people educated, making sure that people know how they can get around the lies. I come from a black family, and in, urban neighborhoods, it's tough. It's tough for the corner store to provide these kinds of things, and it's tough because people think that the cheaper outlet or the easier outlet is the way to go, but in the long run it makes their lives more expensive and harder. So,
Absolutely.
What can we say to lower income people to, improve their health and really see the value in maybe spending a little bit extra to take a great deal of care for themselves?
Right. That's such a great question. Thank you so much for asking that, because it's something that's really heavy on my heart. We just had an experience recently with my daughter's school, and she's 5. She just started kindergarten, and we live in an area where there's people that have some money and middle class, and then there's people that are more on the poverty side. And her school it's a public school, and it's 70% poverty level. And they did a fundraiser at McDonald's, and so I made a big stink about it because I wanted parents to know, what's really in McDonald's food that's really harming their child. So I went in and talked to the principal and stuff, and here's what whether you're low income or not, and no matter where you come from, I believe that every human being has the God-given right, or universal right, if you don't believe in God or whatever your spiritual belief is, a universal right as a human being to at least know. And everyone can get educated, whether you make $100,000 a year or $12,000 a year. You can still get educated, and then at that point, you have the power because you can choose to either continue to eat it or continue to not. And what's happening right now in low-income populations is they're not being educated about these topics. And so, yes, they're going to the local mart on the corner, and they're buying the Doritos and the Cokes and the ding-dongs and Twinkies and whatever else they sell there because it's cheap and it's easy. But I truly believe if people just understood how detrimental that is to their health, and in the long run, like you said, how sick they would get and how much more in healthcare costs they're going to have to shell out later in life, they would make a different decision. So my goal, with working with people is always the more people you tell, the faster the information will spread. And I see as a community in this country having like a global movement, no matter where you come from. So that might sound, utopian or whatever, but I think that every human being has the right to eat good, clean food that's not poison.
It sounds beautiful.
It's tough. Yeah,
it sounds beautiful. I've got chills just from hearing everything you just said because it makes so much sense. People, once they get educated, then you have that choice. At the end of the day, everybody has that choice. And none of this, if you're not born into it and if it's not normal and natural for you to practice this kind of lifestyle, it's something that you can dip and dabble into, and then it becomes comfortable, and then you become used to it.
Absolutely.
I find myself going into a health store looking for healthy things. I mean, I never thought, I still do have a weakness. And it's funny that you mentioned Coke and Doritos because if I get that urge where I'm like, I want bad food, that's my go-to. It's my go-to, the Doritos and the Coke. And also being a vegetarian now, my go-to is a croissant. A croissant is like the best piece of steak to me, But it's taken me years to get to this point. So you know what? I'll take it because one day I'm never going to want that croissant. I'm never going to want that Coke.
Right.
But
and
to be able to look back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just was going to say, you got to find the balance within your own life. Everyone's going to start from a different background and a different place. But, I equate the food system, what's going on right now, a lot to the tobacco industry. And in the 50s, we had doctors on TV selling cigarettes to us, saying, it's perfectly safe to smoke. I smoke Camel Cools and la, 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 la. And now, you'd be totally appalled by that. But that's a lot of what's going on with the food industry, there's no labeling laws, so people are being lied to. And once people are aware, then okay, it's their choice to buy the pack of cigarettes. They know that it causes cancer, and they know that it's going to make them sick in the long run, and it's their choice. And there's always going to be people that smoke, and there's always going to be people that eat junk food. That's just the way the world works. But I just want people to know, and to just touch on what you said of like, where do people start or how can they make healthier choices? I mean, you can go into a local Walmart and even, I would argue, a 7-Eleven, and I could probably teach you in 2 to 3 minutes how to pick out the healthy, most non-toxic products in there that will satisfy your quick hunger, will still be cheap, and won't be as detrimental to your health as some of the other things. So it's really just about awareness.
Let's do it. I think that is a fantastic amount of information for people to know, taking away from this interview. So let's go for it. Tell them what they would need to do. Okay.
So, for example, if you go in, do you want me to do 7-Eleven or Walmart? Which one? You pick.
Let's do Walmart because that one's pretty nationwide. Yeah.
Okay. So Walmart is a perfect example, and I actually just did this test with one of my clients. She works at Walmart. I'm health coaching her to lose about a couple 100 pounds, actually, that she needs to release. And she's a very, very motivated girl, and she said, I can only buy food from Walmart because that's where my discount code is. And I said, no problem. Let's get together. I'm going to walk you through there. I'm going to show you how to buy everything almost completely natural. Organic, yes, you can try. There are some organic choices, but my most important thing is getting a lot of the toxins out. So we went in, and you can get a tremendous amount of organic, even non-GMO products at Walmart. They're just, at the bottom of the shelf or the top of the shelf, and they're not usually an eye level where people look for them, but it's all about being aware, right? So you could go into a Walmart. You could let's talk about just grabbing something for lunch. You could grab an avocado. Okay, avocado is full of protein. It's a superfood. It helps to balance your thyroid. It's very filling. You could half an avocado and have that, scoop it out. You could go into the cooler section and try to find some natural hummus. It doesn't have, a ton of like hydrogenized oils and stuff. They had a few there that were decent. So you could scoop some hummus into that avocado, and then you're getting a little more protein, a little more filling. And you could go up and down the aisles of from the cereals to the pasta section, and you could find whole grain, you could find organic, you can find non-GMO. It's just about looking. So my biggest thing with people is all the brands that you currently think of in your mind right now that you think are food, you need to erase all those from your mind. So things like Kraft, a brand like Kraft, I would never buy anything that Kraft has its label on because I know all their ingredients are highly genetically modified. There's no nutrition in it. Okay, so I look for what's the bad first, and then I go, okay, where can I find the one, Amy's Organic? Oh, my gosh, they carry that at Walmart. I know they're a good brand. I'm going to buy their little, pasta dish or whatever for lunch. So it's just about starting to learn these things, and does it happen overnight in one day? No.
Absolutely not.
But you could go through there and you could go get some, unsalted almonds and, grab a piece of fruit. And there's always choices of healthy, good food. It's just about looking. So that would be my little tip, and the same would be for 7-Eleven. Look for the fruit. Look for things that come from nature. Not a fruit chew, but an actual, like a piece of fruit is always a better choice, than a soda.
And I love what you said about looking for it. When you look for something, it shows up. I remember when I was doing a 2-week vegan makeover so I can kind of recondition my palate to experience what it was like to eat that way. And I had to go out of my way. Like, I had to make myself go to Whole Foods. I had to go to Starbucks just to get the soy milk option. Like, I really had to go out of my way. And then I began to enjoy going out of my way because it felt so good. So you do have to look for it. You do have to prepare for it. And you do have to enjoy the journey and just get excited for the next level that you reach when you decide to become a healthier version of yourself.
Right. And then I would argue, for people right now, if they are eating those toxic foods, you can't feel good. You don't feel good. You probably have brain fog and fatigue, and, even depression is some of the side effects that we see from these chemicals in the food. So what I find with people, too, and you mentioned it earlier, is you forget what it's like to feel good, and you also forget how bad you felt.
Well, you never knew.
We talked it out, Yeah. So anyways, those are just some little simple tips, but, just being aware and reading and learning, and it's a long process there's a lot of information, there's a lot of rabbit holes you can fall down when you're doing this research, but you just kind of stay focused on whatever your goal is. And if your goal is to lose weight, you can absolutely get there. If your goal is to just be healthier and have more nutrients going into your body, you can get there. So it just kind of depends on, what you're looking to do.
Wow. Brittney, I can tell that we are going to be having a different version of this conversation again, and this is definitely just whetting the appetite of people that are not all the way healthy yet, but that are ready to learn and ready to take some steps and ready to really commit to a better, healthier, more quality lifestyle. So I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I want to give you guys some information so that you can find Brittney Kara and so that you can get her book. She is the author of The Silent Scandal, Stop the Toxic Attack on Our Bodies. And she can be found on Facebook with www.facebook.com/Brittney Kara, and on Twitter with what is this app thing called these days? What do they call that, a handle? I'm really old
the
school.
Handle. Yeah, my Twitter handle is...
Okay.
It's just at Brittney Kara, my handle.
Okay, at Brittney Kara. I was at the Apple store, and I'm like, do you guys have a pound sign? And they're like, pound? What's that?
You mean hashtag? Yeah.
Please, it's a number sign.
Right? I was like, when did the hashtag become when did the pound sign become the hashtag? And now it's so trendy, it's funny. But yeah, you can just find me on there. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. And we'll list all of these, and her website is www.yourlifedetox.com. And the number that you can reach Brittney at is 747-666-5771. Again, it's 747-666-5771. Brittney, thank you again. This is magical information. This is what's going to make the difference in people's lives, because all we've got is our health. And we really need to start
having me on. That was wonderful.
You're welcome. Take care, Brittney.
Bye, guys.
Thanks. This has been Motivational Minds Radio, and we are bringing you some of the magic on the pages that brings our lives to the next level. And thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week.